So another program that you're probably going to hear about if you get sentenced to federal prison is the Second Chance Act. It's a big piece of prison reform legislation that took place in 2008. So I benefited from the Second Chance Act. I want to tell you a little bit about why it exists, how it can help you, what it means for you. I will say that the First Step Act, which happened several years later, is far more influential. But let's just talk about the Second Chance Act so you get an idea of what to expect from it. So what it basically did for people in prison is it expanded access to what are called residential reentry centers or halfway houses, and also home confinement. Now, when I went to prison back in 1987, the law was very different, and I'm working to bring it closer to the way it used to be. When I went to prison, the BOP staff had a lot more discretion on when they could send a person to a halfway house or a home confinement center. In fact, some people used to get sentenced to serve their entire term in a halfway house or on home confinement. And the goal of these halfway house home confinements is hopefully to get people theoretically ready for society. Okay, so it's particularly used for people with long sentences because they may need a little bit more time in just transitioning into the world. At least that's the theory. But after I was in for a few years, the system changed so that there were very big limitations where the maximum halfway house time you could get would be 6 months, regardless of your sentence length. The Second Chance Act changed that, and it allowed people to get up to 12 months in a residential reentry center. And of those 12 months, the person could spend up to 6 months on home confinement. Based on certain criteria and certainly at the discretion of the Bureau of Prisons. So the Second Chance Act opened things up, but the First Step Act really made it even much bigger than that. Today we're just going to focus on this lesson. We're only going to focus on the Second Chance Act. So remember that halfway houses, the basics of them, is they're not really run by BOP staff. They're run by private contractors like the GEO Group or MTC or Core Civic, or these other organizations that contract with the Bureau of Prisons. They hire their own staff, and what they provide is like this structured living environment in something like an abandoned hotel or something like that, or an apartment building. And staff there will check you in and provide, case management, make sure that, there's no substance abuse going on in there or try to minimize that. They have the ability to still issue disciplinary infractions and send people back to prison. Those case managers create case plans for people to either attend classes or go to work or go through drug testing or participate in drug programs as required, right? But they also have the discretion when it's time to send somebody to home confinement. They still have to get the BOP's sign off. But of course, that is a much higher level of liberty because at least you're spending time at home. Now, again, in the later video, I'll talk a little bit more about the First Step Act. But for the Second Chance Act, the eligibility states that you could serve up to the last 12 months of your time in confinement in a halfway house, but no more than 6 months in home confinement. Now, I'm working to change that. I'm very optimistic and bullish that that will change in the months and years to come. Prison Professors has been very active in advocating for that, and we've got a lot of data that will show why the BOP should be releasing people to maximum amount of time in home confinement. In fact, during the COVID crisis, the Bureau of Prisons had to release more than 10,000 people. I think it was like 17,000 people to home confinement because it could not maintain safe prisons with them being so crowded, and there were people that needed to be home to comply with the what did you call those? Whatever the restrictions were that existed at that time, masking and all that kind of stuff. At the end of the day, of those 17,000 people that the Bureau of Prisons released, the recidivism rate was like 17 people, not 17%, 17 people or something like that. It was just some microscopic number compared to the recidivism rates that exist for people who come out of prison. And this is data that shows that the Bureau of Prisons can manage people just as effectively while they're on home confinement than if they're in prison. And so we're working to advance that. So you want to kind of understand, well, how do I make sure that I'm in the best position for this? Well, obviously, you want to avoid disciplinary infractions while you're in prison. You want to have a very strong release plan. You want to make sure that you're building a record and memorializing a record that advances you as a candidate for the earliest possible transition to a higher level of liberty. And for some people, that mean working from a higher security prison to a medium security prison to a low security prison to a camp and then to home confinement. For others, it might be, hey, they're in a camp. You should be at home confinement right away. Okay? Don't fall under the misconceptions that anybody's entitled to it. Okay? It requires work and it requires self-advocacy. And that's one of the big reasons that we, our nonprofit, invested in building this entire website that at Prison Professors, because we're trying to show you, hey, how can you memorialize and document your story to get to use it as an asset that will help you accelerate your pathway to success. And everything on Prison Professors is free. Okay, but I would really encourage you to click the button here that goes to profiles. And if you don't really understand this concept yet, go to the help button at the top of the screen and watch the video so that you can kind of get a better understanding of what is best practice in memorializing your journey. I would encourage you to look at some of the people that have been very effective at documenting their story and see what they did, because all of these people got a direct benefit, including getting earlier transitions to home confinement or even in some cases getting clemency. So you have to be building this pathway yourself. You won't have a lawyer to help you. You definitely don't need a prison consultant to help you. I discourage people from hiring a prison consultant because I think a lot of them are people that have, they served 1 year in a camp and they didn't do anything while they were in the camp. As evidence, you could just ask them, let me see what great things did you accomplish that demonstrates you as a master of the system. And, many of them are going to steal my work because I publish so much. But everything I do is free. I come with 3 promises. I'll never lie to you. I'll never ask you to do anything I didn't do. And I'll never ask anybody to pay me a penny. If you need to talk to somebody, I only recommend Justin Paperny by visiting the site that he builds to support our members, which is whitecollaradvice.com/nonprofit, so that you could ask your questions and engage in an interactive community. I just don't have the time to do that because I'm focused on changing the system and building pathways for more people to work toward home confinement. But I can only do my part. You've got to do your part. If you want to qualify for maximum placement in the highest level of liberty at the soonest possible time, you've got to do your work. And no prison consultant is going to do that for you. They're going to lie to you. They're going to tell you several $1,000s. I can do this. I can do that. I guarantee you this. I guarantee you that. But believe in yourself. You are the CEO of your life, and nobody knows your capacity and your life better than you. You may not have direction on what you should do, but you can get all of that for free by working through the lessons at Prison Professors. My name is Michael Santos. I'm the founder. I just would hope that you will be an active member of our community. Use all of our free resources. Subscribe to us on the website so that you can get our free newsletter. And follow us on social so that you can kind of see the advocacy work that we're doing all the time. But most importantly, believe in yourself, just like I believe in you. Be cool.